I was raised by a toxic narcissist who had no empathy, who couldn't care about me and my feelings, and only performed for the public. When I grew up, I knew that I wanted to be a mother because I yearned for that love. And safe to say, now that I'm older and I have kids of my own, I became the mother I wish I had. Hi, I am Dee, and this is my story. Like I said, my mother cared nothing about my feelings or my siblings' feelings. The world revolved around her pain, her sadness, and her anger. And I mentioned in other videos that she was never happy. Nothing ever made her happy. She couldn't even master a smile. We grew up knowing that my mother was always angry, she was always sad, and for some reason, I think she had bouts of depression. She was never diagnosed, but from what I see now when I think about her symptoms, I suspect that there was also that, and some other mental illnesses. Because she is so set in her ways, and because she is so toxic and narcissistic, egotistical, there was a time that I used to suggest that she must get counseling, and she refused, and I was willing to pay for it. She refused because, according to her, everybody else is wrong and she is right. And you couldn't even get a word in to tell her that. I would try to tell her that, Mama, please go and see someone. Please go and do this. I have people that can help you. Because I realized that when I got into my 20s, that her sadness usually is not related to what's happening in real life. When I was younger, I never understood. I used to think that she really was sad and there were people who were making her unhappy. And I was one of those people. And I tried very hard to make sure that I make her happy, make her proud. I was a child who never had a life. I never enjoyed my life as a child. I always tried to please my mother. And I realized when I got to my 20s that there was no correlation between my mother's anger or her negative emotions. They were not correlated to things that were happening in the present. So I would try to assist her and tell her that, there are people who can help you, because I suspected that something was wrong beyond what was going on in the present. Because I would see, even in times where she should be jubilant, where she should be happy, she couldn't. She was physically unable to. I'll give you an example. My father is a provider. My father is a very good provider. We grew up being provided for. And when my father would do good things, my father was always working hard to please that woman. My father would buy her gifts, Valentine's Day, her birthday, Mother's Day. And when she receives those gifts, you could see her swell up negatively. And that didn't make sense to me. You could see her throat bulging. You could see her chest bulging. You could see the anger that would fill her eyes. And that, when you are a child, you don't understand, because you think, this should make her happy. I would look at her and be like, wow, I would love to have a man, my husband, give me this one day. But for my mother, those things that never made her happy. My father, like I said, was a good provider. My father's income would go directly into my mother's bank account, and my mother controlled my father's income. My father had no say whatsoever in how his money was spent. And my mother would belittle him about his salary. She would compare him to other men. When other men could afford things that my father could not afford, my mother would belittle him about it, and she was never happy about it. But within her family, within her circles, we were the better off family. My father provided better than anybody she knew. But let there be a single person who comes and provides more, my mother would be belittling my father about that. So the same thing applied to us as kids. I was one of now that I'm older and I have kids of my own, I know that I was the best kid. I worked hard to be the best kid. I was good. I cooked. I cleaned. I never did anything, to an extent that I tell you now that I never had a life. I was not a child who was outside playing. I was a child who was cooking, cleaning, studying, making sure that I get good grades to make my mother happy so that I see her. And everything I was doing, I was conscious to make sure that I do the right thing. And within that consciousness, it ate away at my childhood. I never had a childhood. I don't remember being carefree as a child. I don't remember playing carefreely. There were times that I would play, but I was always conscious with how I played, with who I played, how I seemed to my mother, and I would, every time when I'm playing and she's within my vision, I would look at her for her approval. Am I playing right? Do I look okay for you? And her eyes would tell me everything I need to know. If I need to stop, if I need to continue, if I need to do it a certain way, I knew we had this non-verbal communication that I just lived to please my mother. So I was never carefree. I don't even remember a single time as a child that I was carefree. I always tried to do things that were right, to an extent that I would even force my sister as a child to do things that were right. It sounds ridiculous now that I think about it, that I remember as young as 6, 7, my sister would be around 3, and I would make sure that I do the right things and force my sister to act right for my mom. Because even when we were playing, I would look for my mother's cues. Now that I'm older, and as a result, I had a somber childhood. I did not have a good childhood. It looked good from the outside because, hey, we were keeping up with the Joneses. We were the family to look up to. But I never had a good childhood. In my 20s, I suffered with self-esteem, self-image. I didn't even know how to act in social situations because also I was always kept indoors. I was not even allowed to be out there. And the excuse that was always given was, this is a dangerous world we live in. How can you go out as a girl? You will get hurt. Which are valid reasons, but there are times where you can allow a child to be out and free. School trips, school vacations, you can allow a child to attend those because they are under the guardianship of the teachers who she knew would take care of us, but I was not allowed to do that because how dare I go out and have fun as a child? Now I'm a mother. And let me tell you, I am the mother I wish I had. I love my kids unconditionally. They annoy me sometimes, but I love them. I love them in their flaws. I encourage them. I tell them every day that they must live their lives for themselves, not for me. When they play and they're doing dangerous things, that's only when I'll intervene. But generally, I just want them to have fun. When it's their birthday, I ask them what they want, how they would want things to be done, who they want, where they would want it. And if finances allow, that's what my babies are getting. It's all about them. My life is about them. Yes, I make an allowance for myself to have fun, but let me tell you, I live for my kids. And this one time, my daughter came to me and said, Mama, thank you for being my mom. You are the best mom. And let me tell you, that melts my heart. When my kids thank me, when my kids tell me how much they love me, without being provoked, without me asking for it, it fills my heart with joy because I know that I became the mother that I never had. Yes, sometimes I get angry, but even when I have those bouts of sadness, I hide from my kids. I don't want my kids to see that in their mom. They know sometimes when things go wrong and they see for a moment that mom is not okay, but then I remove myself from them and I come back and be my jolly self again. They have seen me happy. They have seen me joyful. They see gratitude. One thing that I teach my kids is that we're supposed to be grateful for what we have. So I became the mother that I never had. And I have a wonderful home. I love my home life. I love the life that my husband and I have built for our kids. And we are generally a happy family. And we are a genuinely happy family. We are not happy for other people. We are not putting up a facade for the world to see. We live a genuine, happy life. So for all the girls out there who were never loved by their toxic narcissistic mothers, be the mother you never had.